Hello and welcome. We're here with Rob from
the Rover 120 and MG 100 anniversary stand.
Yeah, so we're here at the NEC. It's day 2 today, and we're currently sat in front of our lovely map of the United Kingdom and friends with a nicely drawn Irish edition, let's say. So yeah, we're here with Rob. He's one of our interviewees, the lucky guy, and we're just going to have a chat about cars.
Yes.
And yeah.
Awesome cars.
Yeah, great cars.
Very awesome.
So yeah, we're just going to chat in general. Let's talk about what I bought off you recently.
Well.
Yeah, well.
Yes. Yes is the answer to that question.
Yeah.
You bought my very lovely biomorphic ZR that was maybe very slightly modified, maybe just a
slightly
tiny bit.
Depends who you tell.
Well, does it? There was an insurance joke in there, but I won't.
No.
No, in seriousness, I mean that car I spent 5 or 6 years with it.
Yeah.
It was bought. It was bought from Scotland. It was an 04 plate base model. It was one of those that puts in a showroom because of the paint colour. No spec on it.
Yeah.
I spent quite a bit of time. It had suspension. It had a rebuilt 1.6 engine. It was tuned. It had an early Rover 25 interior put in it.
Yeah.
Because we don't like the squeaks and the rattles.
No,
the slightly later one.
They're slightly less squeaky.
Slightly
later
less
on,
squeaky.
Yeah. Or should I earlier on?
Slightly bigger exhaust, which was all right until it started to knock.
Yeah. We sorted that now. We sorted that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But then I suppose we sort of did that, and then a couple of weeks later we did the reverse.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah. So there's a car that's not made the channel yet. This video might be out before that. I'm not sure because it's taking longer than we expected.
Yes.
So Rob bought a ZS 180 off us, which if that video's out, you'll have seen that maybe.
Yes.
It probably won't be out by then because there's a lot on it. So this car's done like 242,000 miles. And sadly became a little bit of a parts car. It wasn't intended to be a parts car, but it's kind of like when you've got a car with so much mileage, it's kind of almost done its due.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like an old dog. You don't want to kind of put it down. And it's a Rover, so yeah.
Because Rover, it's fine, yeah.
So, so we're in process, aren't we, of putting that back on road,
Yes.
really. So we kind of did a swap in the same couple of months, in a sense.
Yeah. That was very bizarre, having sold one car and then gone, I've got one less car, and then come down back from yours, I've got another car.
Well, I'm not going to lie, when I got that car, I offered it to a few people, probably including yourself maybe at the time. And it was around the area.
Yeah.
And you asked me when we'd taken bits off it.
Yes.
And yeah, anyway. So that's coming along, isn't it now?
Yeah, it is, to be fair.
Yeah.
There's some bits, actually, I'm collecting some bits here for it.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah. So when that's done...
It'll be worth doing, and I think the good thing with it is it's a high mileage hero, isn't it? So like, it's nice to see. It's it's not pretty at the moment, but it'll become pretty.
It's fine.
Yeah. So a bit of welding on that, hasn't it? Quite a lot of welding on that.
A little bit.
But yeah, that's something you'll see shortly. Going back to the ZR, that's something we've got something planned in for. We're thinking update it a little bit with it being an 04 plate car.
Yes.
Needing quite a lot of paint.
Little bit.
Small bit.
50 shades of green.
A few shades of green.
Few shades of green, yep.
So from there, what stand are you on then, Rob? Tell us about it.
So the stand that we've organised, so over the course of this year, a group of us brought together a number of car clubs across the MG and Rover marques to celebrate 120 years of Rover and 100 years of MG. That was a couple of big events like Longships and Octagons in April. We had Post-Aberdeen the Weekender in August, and we've done lots of other stuff in between. But it culminated in our stand here, where we've got 8 cars on display, 4 Rovers, 4 MGs, all red, white and blue. Really just to showcase the brand, because especially with the Rover anniversary, it got lost.
Yeah, it did. I agree with that.
It got lost this year. Nobody really picked... Even the Rover clubs didn't pick up on it. They were more interested in the model anniversaries as opposed to the marque anniversary.
Yeah.
So we sort of picked that up, and then that's been incorporated into all the other anniversary stuff they've been doing.
Yeah, and I think the good thing about that is the MG 100 is this year, and is, what was it, the 120 for the Rover, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. So that kind of coincided at the same time, which is kind of cool because it's a round number.
Yeah.
It's not like 119th Rover, 100 MG kind of thing, is it? So yeah, that's really cool. We might show a bit of footage from your stand, which would be nice.
Yes.
And there won't be any talking over that because all you'll hear is like from the NEC.
Well, at least it's not from an L Series diesel. So I suppose that's it.
It could be an L Series diesel.
It could be an L Series diesel. Yeah.
Scott. But yeah, so anything else you'd like to chat about, Rob? I mean, I've known you probably 10 years. Roughly.
I think
about. Like, it was one of those, like, when you're in a car scene, and especially like the MG Rover scene, of like days of Facebook and forums, you see faces, don't you? And like, you had a yellow ZT, I had a couple of yellow ZTs. And then, like, sort of 2 or 3 years down the line and seeing each other at shows. And then I think probably it got big, probably like 2018, 2019, where people had kind of more shows came along, the cars got older, people tried to save the cars more, I'd say. Yeah,
I think that sort of probably 5 to 8 year period after the closure, it sort of dropped for the periphery of it. It sort of dropped off a bit, and you had the hardcore people, and it's sort of the prices have all now starting to pick up on the cars because the ones that are left are the nicer ones or the savable ones, not the ones that have been ragged. We're seeing with the Z cars, for example, the 160s, the 180s, the 190s. Are very much the popular, being the top of the range ones. We're seeing the Rover, a lot of the high spec 25s are starting to just.
Do you know what I think a lot of this is? And I just spoke to a lot of people about this. With the Rover thing, my dad had them as company cars, so that's why I've ended up with the Bug. And I think what it is my dad had that car, or someone I know had that car, and they've got this like emotional attachment to it. And I was talking to a few people recently on about like the Ford bubble.
Yeah,
that's kind of like bursting a little bit. I'm not going to say it's burst, but it's, and then like the underdogs are kind of coming up. It's like you think how many like things like Allegros out there, and then like they've all disappeared, and then someone's gone, well, my dad had one of them, and I really want one, and it's pushed the prices up because it's like supply and demand, isn't it?
It very much is. I mean, we've got over on our stand, we've got you'll see it if you do a walk around later. There is a MG Maestro 2-litre EFI from the Great British Car Journey in Belper. They've lent us. The SD1, the 200 SD3. My mum's first car was an MG Metro 1300, of which we've got one over there of the same year. It was an 83 Y plate.
So you can have ties to that car, technically.
So all of that era of BL Austin Rover going into Rover Group, that's my era of car. And with the younger owners now, we are still. I personally am still finding that there are some of them that are in MGBs and C. Like that, but there's a hell of a lot of them that are Metros, Maestros, Montegos, 200s, ZRs coming into the MG scene, the Fs and the TFs as well. Because they're cheaper to get, they're easy to look after, and they're easy to learn about.
And they're kind of easy to work on as well in that sense, aren't they?
Well, I mean, this is it. With these new finance BMW 1 Series and everything like that, it's all very lovely, but you've got to take it back to a dealership.
And then when anything goes wrong, it just says C dealer.
and then when it says C dealer, it says C bank manager.
Because
it gets very expensive. But 99% of the jobs on these cars, it's something you can do, or you will know a mechanic who can do it.
A good specialist. There's a lot of that nowadays, isn't there?
I think that's the other thing that we need to do is to look to work more on finding those specialists, because they are out there, but they're not always necessarily known, and that is what will stop some of these cars being kept on the road, is people not knowing where to go. I mean, we've got the MG RS, for example, with the parts. Rimmer Brothers also do it as well, and several other companies out there that are, MG Obsession is another one. These companies are out there to keep these cars on the road, but we just need to encourage people to look or contact clubs and places where...
It's like clubs like ours where they can come to us and go, who do you trust? Well, I won't say who do you trust, but it's kind of like, give offer advice. Yeah, that sort of thing. So,
But I mean, I've spent... my first car was a Rover 100 on a P plate.
Ooh, what engine?
in purple, and it was a
diesel.
it was not a diesel. How dare you? Don't do diesels. Good grief. No, it was a 1.1 petrol K series.
I mean, that was pretty good actually.
And it was
it was a 4-speed.
It was a posh one because it was a Knightsbridge.
Ooh, nice.
You know, it meant it had body-coloured bumpers and central locking.
Yeah.
That was an awesome little car, especially not for a first car, because it goes a lot quicker than you would expect.
Yeah, at the 5-speed then, 4-speed.
Yeah, 5-speed. Yeah, 5-speed box.
Cool. Yeah. I think with things like that though, if you see metros nowadays, they've all done like 10 miles because they've all like someone's using them to go to the shops, and then they're all in a garage. Maybe
either that, or they've got like MGF VVC engines in them.
Yes,
and they've gone like the polar opposite way.
Yeah.
But the price of metros now, even the later ones, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think it's that tie, isn't it? Like, you know, like people have had them or family members. I remember my auntie having one, and she ran a red light in it, I think. I'm pretty sure she did when I was younger. We were going to Toby Carvery. So I can see what I would run a red light for that. Not saying I run red lights, but, you know. That's... Like, you have a memory of it, don't you? And I think that was like a J-Reg. So that was like the phase 2 of it, I think.
That's a Rover Metro. That's phase 1 Rover Metro. When it went from Austin
like the wedgie lights on it.
Yeah, I don't know
what I did there, but
90 to 94 was that shape Metro. And then 94 to 95 year up to 97, 98 was the 100 with the slightly froggy looking front end.
That was it, and then I think what finished that car off was I heard this recently, it might not be true, but was the crash test, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because they did a crash test on it, and it literally just folded.
A little bit like a milk carton.
Yeah. There was about as much metal in it as a milk carton, but yeah. But they're good little cars. Every car kind of holds its own thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of the metro scene in particular. There's an awful lot of people out there that are into it.
Yeah, it's
as
cool
you
to
see
see
here.
that, though, isn't it? It's nice. I mean, obviously, you have what takes your fancy. I mean, I walk around like this hall we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
Some cars you look at, you're like, who likes them cars? But you kind of appreciate that someone somewhere likes it. You know, like that's someone's taste, isn't it? You know, and they probably got a tie to it, like you say, family members or some memory of some sort, or maybe not. I don't know.
Well, those late sort of BL cars, especially when you look at like the Austin Princesses and the Allegros and those sorts of cars.
Yeah. But
it's whatever floats your boat. It's absolutely fine.
That's it. That's a good way of putting it. But that's pretty much everything, isn't it, Rob?
Yes.
But we've just got a really busy weekend that's kind of past us and ahead of us still.
Yeah, very busy weekend.
But we'll come do some footage on your stand.
Yeah.
Like I said, there will not be any talking on it. But see what you've got on there.
Welcome to come over.
Yeah. Thanks for speaking to you, Rob.
You're welcome.
See you soon.
Hello, this is day 3 of the NEC, and I'm here with Ciaran from Ireland, which is this swimming midget here. And we're here to interview you about how you got your MGB, is it Irish Ridge MGB?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a different car. So it's an original Irish car. There was only a handful left now anyway, that's for sure. And then there was a select few that were actually assembled in Ireland in a factory called the Britain Group. They were based in the South Circular Road near Dublin. And then the predecessor to that was Boot Pool, which was quite famous in Ireland. Now, they mainly sold Morse miners and those kind of like everyday family cars. But there was a handful of sportier models like the GT over there, and she's still going strong.
Yeah. So, what was the car's life like? Was it nice driving roads, or were it full race spec, driving around hill climbs or anything like that?
Well, yeah. So when it was first sold, it was sold to a local man where I live. He'd be very well known in Tipperary. His name was Jerry King, and when he got the car at first, straight away put a high lift cam on it, and he had it set up to go hill climb racing, which the car did compete for a number of years, and it retains all of its engine work, and so it's got a little bit more pep in its step than a standard one maybe, and
So over at the dinner table last night, I heard you were putting a V8 in an MGB. Is that true? Will that happen?
Well, there was a bit of drunken discussion on that front, I think. We were discussing the restoration show, was it? Yeah, they were saying they'd love to build a car on the stand, and I was going, well, I wouldn't be opposed to having a V8 in an MG, Probably not that one, but yeah.
It's too nice, should we say? It's too rare.
Yeah, well, I think it's got enough engine work done to it as it is. You know, it's never going to be a super fast car, and but it's quite fun, and like the way it drives is, you know, it's got its charm, and it's how I'd want it to be.
Yeah, well, it's an MGB. Any MGB is nice to drive. It sounds good. It drives nice. What's your dream MG? What would it be? Or a Rover?
Well, when it comes to MGs now, I think I'd definitely probably go MGC, a Roadster. I'd love a Roadster.
Yeah.
And I'd love to go something a little bit different with it. Find one that needed a bit of work, paint it myself, and I'd like to go with something a different colour. You know, something that hasn't been seen on one.
Yeah.
Actually, I was always liked Porsche paint a sample. They do oak green metallic. I think that would look really cool on a CGT.
It'd look good in like a monogram, like a flip colour.
Yeah,
that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Like that Aurora. There's actually a C over there.
Yeah, there is. It's actually very nice, and I was admiring that when it came in. And I have to say, you can't beat the sound of an inline six.
Yeah.
And I suppose my passion for cars kind of came from my dad, and he had a TR6, so kind of have a soft spot for an inline six, and now I'm an MG man, so it seems only right that we go C.
Yeah. Right, I've got a theme going with everyone that I'm interviewing is, would you own an SV?
They're a very interesting car. I'd never actually seen one before I came here 2 years ago, and I saw the same three that are there now. I would. They're a good looking car, and obviously with a big V8 power plant in it, you can't go too far wrong.
Yeah. They're simple. I wouldn't say cheap, but they're fun.
They're
very
100%.
fun. Another one is, would you own a Rover 200 BRM?
I probably would. I'm a bit more of a classic man myself now when it comes to cars. But I would, and I've been looking at some of the more Rover models recently as maybe a replacement daily for the Corolla, since I'm kind of delving into this MG world now pretty big. So it's not much else to cover really. Perfect. Thanks very much. Chat to you again.
Thank you, Gay.
So, hi Jamie.
Hello.
We've got Jamie here from the same stand as Rob, so that's the anniversary MG and Rover stand.
Correct.
Am I right thinking MG 100 and Rover 120?
Yeah, pretty much, basically.
I always get that the wrong way around for some reason.
I don't even know what the right way around is, to be honest, either. Just crack on, it's the same stuff either way.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about... am I right saying yours is an Express, isn't it? Yeah.
Express van, genuine van.
Tell us about it. Where did it start and where is it now?
So it all started with basically a family friend of ours. So family friend of ours was sadly starting to clear out the estate of his sister. She was sadly dying, and it was all quite a sad occasion. And me and my dad, obviously, we thought it'd be the right thing to help him clear his estate out. He turns around to me and he goes, well, we got one car left. There's a barn over in like the corner of the estate. And he goes, the car in it, I think probably is right up your street. If you want it, you can have it, sort of thing.
Nice,
so,
right, okay.
Like, obviously, family friend of ours and all that. So open up the doors, and I was like, the ZR just presented itself, and I was just like, oh, cool, I've always wanted one of those. So I wanted the ZR for my first car. I was never really that into MG Rovers when I was like 17 or anything, but I got older and I saw that I saw the doors open. I was like, that's just wicked. Like, you just don't see them anymore.
So it is a proper van then, isn't it?
As far as I'm aware, these stats are correct. There was 337 vans made.
Wow, right.
My van is number 327.
So late car,
there must have only been about 9 or 10 more vans made after mine. So you can't really get too much later than that. I don't know whether mine could be the youngest left on the road. It might be, it might not be. But it's quite one of the last ones ever built. So
cool. So did it need much to put it back on the road after it being in the barn? Had it been in a long time? I can't remember.
It'd been in a barn for about 3 or 4 years.
Right,
so the family friend's sister's partner, who was the owner of the car, died in 2016. So she was just on her own for a bit before then starting going downhill and everything, clearing out the state and what have you. So so it had been sat in a barn for about 4 years. So shall we say? And
that's not too bad, is it?
being in the barn, away from the elements, it was relatively okay, covered in dust, mind, and there was like cats were able to get into the barn, so there were scratch marks over the car, but nothing too major or anything like that.
Yeah.
The major thing that we had to do was get it running again was the immobilizer, and where I was not massively infused in the MG Rover at that point, I was thinking, well, how the hell am I going to get this car running? Because all the time, every time I wanted to flick the ignition over and try and start it, the immobilizer was armed. It was like dee-doo, dee-doo. And I was like,
that'll be the round fob then, won't it?
It was a round fob, yeah. It's a BCU from Pectron.
Yes.
The incredibly unreliable one.
Yes, that's the one.
I had no idea about it to start with, and I joined a load of like ZR owners clubs on Facebook and stuff, and I was like, look guys, I don't want to get rid of this car. It's really, it was tempting to get rid of it. I just didn't know if I could be bothered with it. But obviously, deep down in my heart, I know I wanted the car, and I wanted to get it running again, take it back to its former glory, all that good stuff. And I got told, basically, Pectron made these body control units for these Mark IIs historically unreliable. You're going to need to get the original fob. But unfortunately for me, where I was basically having the car from a deceased person, we didn't know where the key fob was.
Oh no! Right.
So we had no keys, nothing. So we dragged it out the barn with a tow truck, got it winched it onto the back, obviously because the towing eyes on the back. Dragged it onto the trailer, got it back to my mum and dad's house, and it was sat on the drive for from November over to about February, so about 3 or 4 months, shall we say. So in that time, we rebuilt the starter motor. I was doing my research into like the BCU and everything, and eventually we got a breakthrough. So there was a website that I found where you could, if you showed proof of V5, you give them the VIN number. It was a genuine MG Rover key. They could cut it straight to the VIN number.
Right, okay, that's
I had
a bit of a godsend, really, then, isn't it?
Basically. So I had access into the car, and I could like put the ignition on. Like I said, though, you whack the ignition on, go to start, immobilizer kicked in. So we had an auto locksmith come out numerous times trying to get into it, get past the immobilizer. He could get past the immobilizer and start it up with the laptop hooked up. But as soon as he took the laptop away, armed up again. So I had to get hold of a genuine fob, and that was a little bit more tricky than I thought, because I thought you could just buy any old standard MG Rover key fob off of eBay without realising that you had to buy not only a brand new one, but one that also had a barcode with it as well.
We had a barcode. They are useless. Absolutely useless.
Thankfully, as soon as the fob came available and we bought it, the auto locksmith we were using was able to code it to the control unit, and even then we were still having problems. And then I also was told that I would most likely need to send the BCU away. So there was a company that I was introduced to called Technozen, if you've ever heard of them. It's a guy in Brighton, so roundabout down here. So
our map's useless. Don't use this.
It's got a use now. Got hold of that. Sent it off to him first class in the post. I must have got it back within 2 days because he repaired it. 30 quid, can't go wrong.
Bargain.
Hooked it straight back up, and it's straight away immobilizer disarmed, central locking worked, and we had access to the car.
Excellent.
Did that. Then we ended up doing like the timing belt, did a service to it, all that good stuff, just to make sure, because obviously 4 years away, you don't know how good the cam belt is.
Do you think the reason it was parked up was because of that SCU fault, BCU fault, whichever?
I don't think so. I just think, because like I say, the only reason we had those problems was because not only had it been stored away for so long, but the previous owner was in bad health, and he obviously passed away, didn't he? So if we'd have had the original fob, it might have been a completely different story.
Yes.
But obviously, it was just one of those. And
so from there then, Jimmy, I think I met you, I don't know, maybe it's a few years ago.
The first time I properly met you was at Farnborough, wasn't it, at the railway in Leicestershire for the post-Abingdon weekend that we had there?
No,
a couple of years ago in the pouring rain.
The Malvern thing. Do you know the one that did?
Oh my God, yes,
because
it was.
Yeah, we were across the way, and I think when you had your ZR Express on, I think at the time. But that was it. Yeah, because it's funny because through the car scene,
Z20 it was.
Yes,
that's the name of the event. That was it.
Because the funny thing is, you people via the cars and not the faces. And then you
like
put
the
Instagram
pages and all that sort of stuff. That must have been it then. But I can remember that was the car's first proper show that I ever went to, because I think I got it running in the February of 2020. Made sure it did a lot of mileage and stuff reliably.
Did what you need to do, kind of thing.
Did it all up to the best way I could at the time, and then I got introduced onto the committee of previous register, and I got invited to have my car on the stand over at Z20 in Malvern. So that was one of the biggest highlights of the car's early like
quite a sense of achievement, isn't it, to see a car that was in a barn?
Yeah,
and
mate.
then you know, you see it out on a show. You know, it's cool. That it's really good.
Yeah, mate. It was nothing more satisfying. I had a vision as soon as, because the funny part was when I looked at it in the barn, it was all covered in dust and everything. I just thought it was a standard car, and I remember I looked in the front and I could obviously see the cockpit and everything, and then went to dust the back window off, and then I just went to look in. I was like, it's pitch black. Like, what's going on? Is it a really dark tin? Yeah. And then I looked at it. I was like, this is a panel.
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
They are rare.
They are
really
very rare.
Yeah,
especially now. If you go on how many left, I don't think you'll see any more than just over 100 vans in total. You got the 1.4 van, the 2-litre diesel van, and you've got the 160 van.
Yes, they did a 160, which is crazy.
The 160 one's the rarest of the lot. Like, I think they only must have made about, I'm guessing at this point, like 10 of them, something like that. They didn't make hardly any of them. The most common one of the van, as well as the 25 commas, was the diesel one, because obviously it was more practical, commercial, all that sort of thing. So, yeah, it was one of those. I couldn't believe my eyes when I searched it up and realised that they made a van, because I never knew they did it. Absolutely. And people I speak to and all that about them, there's like, I never knew they did that. I was just like, me neither.
The other funny thing is, there was so many Rover 25s made, and it's just so happened you stumbled across not just a ZR, but the van. You know, that is cool.
Mate, to be fair, the luck was on my side there. But like I say, the fact that I'd seen it, I'd wanted one for my first car. I don't know how many years ago. And I passed my test in 2018, and it was back in 2019. So I'd been driving nearly 2 years at that point. So I wanted one for my first car. Couldn't afford it because it was too, obviously, typical ZR. Too expensive on insurance, so couldn't insure it. So that happened. Ended up just going with some rubbish cars for the time being. And to have seen it in the barn, I was like, well, that's just cool, because I always wanted one of them. And then to obviously have the additional perks of having the rarity and like the colour as well. I didn't realise how rare the colour was.
Is it pearl black? Is it
pearl black? Obviously, being a Mark II black. And I didn't realise it only made 8 of the vans in that colour.
Wow!
Across all 3 platforms that they made for them. So quite another quite rare. I think it was 7 of 8. So they made one more in pearl black after mine got made. So whether that's still on the road or not, I know of one other express van in pearl black, but it is a rep. It's not a real.
It's not a real van. Yeah, because a lot of people buy the van panels and put them in, wouldn't they? Sort of thing.
The only way you can really tell if it's a genuine express or not is by looking at the V5, or you go on like Gov website and you type the reg, and it will literally come up with ZR Express. In my case, it comes up as ZR Express TD because turbo diesel.
Yes.
So, that's basically one of the most common ways you can tell whether it's a genuine van or not. So to have that privilege to have the genuine tag on it,
really
and everything, it's quite cool. So that's basically how I got it.
Before we finish this, where are you now with it, and what are you kind of going to do with it? What's the plan? Are you going to keep it forever? Are you going to?
The thing's going to the grave with me. No questions.
It's funny how cars have that like impact on you, isn't it? Like you know, like especially when they come from like family, or there's like a certain situation you buy a car, it kind of sticks with you, doesn't it?
Because obviously the family friend of ours that I got it through, they're so dear to us. So like they mean a lot to us. So it's not only that, it's just keeping it on the road in memory of the previous owner and everything. And plans with it at the moment. It's stored away for the winter. It's feeling a bit sorry for itself because a couple of months ago I was driving my friend to Southampton, so drove him all the way down to Southampton, and he picked up his new car. Dropped him home, had a look at his car and everything, and I drove back to my place, and I got to within 5 minutes round the corner, and the car just suddenly cut out. I was just like, well, okay, it's never really done that before. I've put 50,000 on it in 5 years, so done a lot of mileage. It was in the middle of a thunder and lightning storm as well, so that wasn't pleasant. I thought I'd hydrolock the engine. I absolutely some poo came out to be quite
brown
frank.
trouser moment.
Pretty much Coke Brown. But that was really annoying, and I did a few looking into some of the symptoms, and they was like, it's most likely going to be a fuel pump. And there's a common thing with a fuel pump with the ECU, or there's 2 other solenoids on the fuel pump as well. They also like to die, and just a few other things like that. And it's just going to be one of those. I'm not too sure yet what I want to do, whether that's put a genuine, like just a whole new pump into it. Or
I know some of the bits are hard to find now, aren't there?
You can take some of the bits off and get them sent off for repair. So like, I don't know what to explore yet. So I've been advised at least to get someone with V-Scan to scan it and give me the code that I need to target a certain part of the fuel pump. So that'll then give me a clearer idea. If it's one of the 2 solenoids, which I know in situ are a bugger to replace or get out even. So If I know it's one of those two, it might just be worth getting a new fuel pump if I can find one, because they are like hen's teeth to find. And I don't know if you've noticed, in like, we're talking now November 2024.
Yep.
How many diesels have you seen? All these diesel owners that have turned around and said my fuel pump's packed up.
Well, it's funny
Ever
actually.
since mine's happened, I've seen about maybe 10 or 11 different owners all saying, yeah, my fuel pump's died. It's like they've all just decided to combust at the same time.
It's funny you should say that. I've heard a couple, but you've obviously come across a few more. But I think the thing is the cars are now old, and they're getting to an age, aren't they now? And they are 20 years old. But it's nice that you can get things refurbished, can't you? Technically.
Yeah. Obviously, if you've got the money to do it and everything, then that's great. But if you're a bit like me, needs to do a bit more like searching around for the right things at the right price, because I've got to be more careful. Then it makes things a little bit more difficult. But I don't mind taking the challenge on. I had the challenge at the beginning of the whole ownership thing with the ECU and the BCU and stuff.
You've got the bug basically.
So I've got I got a track record of I got a track record of having some quite deep endeavours with that thing mechanically and just like working on it in general. So I'm happy to take another one on if it means that I get to have a bit more enjoyment out of it. And it actually retired this year as well from daily duties. So
cool.
It can now be my show car, and I can take it to events and just do just that with it only, and not have to worry about using it as my daily driver. Only unless my daily packs up, which, touch wood, that's not going to happen.
It's always good to have a spare, isn't it?
Honestly, So
I mean, what I'll do is, if you can send me some photos of your van, I'll pop those in this video so people can have a look. I imagine a lot of people watching this probably won't know what it is, or the people overseas have probably never seen a Rover 25.
The amount of people that have approached me when it's been on stands at events and stuff, they've gone, I never knew they did one of these. Like, these are really cool. I've had a couple of people message me, like, oh, do you plan to sell it? I'm like, no. It's a straight up no. I've had people try and swap me. I think the nicest car someone's tried to offer me a swap for is a Mark 5 GTI Golf. So it was tempting, but no, it just ain't happening. It's the ZR's unique. You don't see them anymore.
They ain't making any more of them.
And I dread to think what might have happened to that car should it have gone into the hands of that owner, because obviously it was the person that offered me, it was obvious that he wasn't an enthusiast in the brand. So if I ever was to sell that car on, which I don't have a plan to, if it was to go to anyone else, it would have to be an enthusiast. And I've had enthusiasts before ask me if I plan to sell it. I said no. I did an April Fool's post years ago. I think it's April 2021. On April Fool's Day, I said for sale, this, that, and the other. The amount of people I got offered like some good figures for it. But I could never sell it. Just on a mental level, it would ruin me to get rid of that car.
That's the thing. You just regret it, wouldn't you? I think.
Literally, it's my first proper nice car, since I started driving, and it's just one of those to cherish. Like, and especially in the circumstances I got it, I'm very grateful, and I've put a little blood, sweat, and tears into it as well. So it means way too much to me to part ways with. So
you get cars like that, I think, don't you? It's just they kind of get into your blood in a sense.
100%. That's it.
So, but cool. I think we'll probably end that there. But that's actually been a really good overview. I didn't know some of those bits about like what you told me, where you found it. Actually, I didn't know any of that. So that's really cool.
I haven't spoken about it on many things. I know that there's been a couple of podcasts that I have been on and spoke about it and all that stuff. But it's only unless I tell people about it that they're not going to find it. They're obviously not that big of a podcast. But
we'll throw some pictures in this.
No, of course. They're more than happy to throw you the link for the podcast I also featured in if you want that.
We'll put that in the descrition if you like.
Of course.
So, cheers, Jamie. That's been really interesting.
Thank you very much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Have a good rest of your half-an-hour show.
Now that we're coming towards the end of the day, hope everyone's had a good event, and I hope in future, time to come, we'll have the ZR back and hopefully running,
and hopefully we'll see it on here.
Yeah,
great stuff. Cheers, mate.
Sound. Thank you.